I woke up at 4:30 a.m., when the world outside was still dark. Our bedroom, silent, except for the soft breathing of my wife Amanda. The weather forecast had predicted heavy snow overnight, and a quick peek through the curtains confirmed it. 6 inches at least. I had an important presentation at work today, and I wanted to make sure our driveway was clear before I left. After 8 years of marriage, these small acts of dedication had become second nature. Lately, though, something felt different between us. As I pulled on my winter gear, I never imagined that clearing snow would change my life forever. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Take a second to hit that like button and subscribe if you want more stories about life's unexpected turns. Amanda and I met during our sophomore year of college. She was studying business administration, and I was pursuing engineering. We literally bumped into each other at the campus library, sending her stack of finance textbooks tumbling to the floor. As I helped her gather them, our hands touched, and that was it. One coffee date turned into dinner the following weekend, and before we knew it, we were inseparable. After graduation, we struggled like most young couples. I found entry-level work at a construction firm, while Amanda landed a position at a local marketing agency. We lived in a tiny apartment, saved every penny, and dreamed of something bigger. On our second anniversary, we sat on our second-hand couch with a bottle of cheap wine and made a 5-year plan. Marriage, careers, house, eventually kids. The wedding came first, a modest ceremony with close friends and family. Career advancement followed for both of us. I worked my way up to project manager while Amanda moved to a larger firm with better pay and opportunities. By year 6 of our relationship, we had enough for a down payment on a house. Not just any house, but a beautiful colonial in a New England suburb with good schools and tree-lined streets. We moved in 2 years ago and everything seemed perfect. The 4-bedroom layout gave us space to grow into with plans for a home office and eventually a nursery. We painted walls, planted a garden, and hosted our first Thanksgiving. It was everything we had worked for. Looking back, the changes in Amanda were subtle at first. Working late became more frequent about 6 months ago. She joined a gym and started attending evening classes. New friends from work would text at odd hours. Her phone became a permanent attachment, always face down when not in use. I chalked it up to stress and her recent promotion. After all, we were both building careers. Space and understanding seemed like the mature response. That snowy morning was the harshest of the winter so far. The temperature had dropped to 15 degrees and the wind chill made it feel even colder. I could have called in late, but the presentation I had scheduled involved potential new clients, worth millions to our firm. As the newest senior project manager, I needed to prove myself. So there I was, bundled in layers, attacking our driveway one shovelful at a time. The snowfall was beautiful in its own way. The neighborhood was completely silent, every sound absorbed by the white blanket covering everything. Streetlights created a peaceful glow as I methodically cleared a path. After about 45 minutes, my fingers were numb, despite my thick gloves and my face stung from the wind. I decided to take a quick break to warm up and grab some coffee before finishing the job. I stomped my boots on the mat in our mudroom and peeled off my outer layers. The house was warm and quiet with Amanda still asleep upstairs. The coffee maker was preset to start at 5, so a fresh pot awaited me. As I poured a cup, I noticed her phone on the kitchen counter. This was unusual since Amanda always kept it with her, even carrying it between rooms in our house. The screen was still unlocked, probably forgotten when she came down for water in the night. A notification banner slid across the top, drawing my eye automatically. It was a text message from someone named Jack, and what I read froze me more thoroughly than any winter storm could have. He is out there like an idiot in the blizzard. If we are lucky, he will have a heart attack, and we will not need the divorce. The message showed Amanda had sent this just 10 minutes earlier. Jack had responded with 3 laughing emojis. My coffee cup hovered halfway to my lips. Time seemed to stop as my brain tried to process what I was seeing. My wife of 8 years was not only having an affair, but was casually discussing my potential death with her lover, while I was outside working to make her day easier. The initial shock gave way to a surge of rage, then a strange calm. I carefully set down my coffee, took a screenshot of the message, using her phone, and emailed it to myself. Then I cleared the notification, placed the phone exactly as I had found it, and returned to the driveway. Each shovelful of snow now felt like moving a mountain, but I finished the job methodically, my mind racing with questions and plans. When I returned inside, I showered and dressed for work as usual. Amanda came downstairs as I was preparing breakfast, kissing me on the cheek and asking how the driveway clearing had gone. I answered normally, complimented her outfit, and told her I would be home around 7. Not a hint of what I knew escaped my carefully controlled expression. As I drove to work, a single thought repeated in my mind: gather evidence, protect yourself, then act. The 30-minute drive to my office felt like 3 hours. Radio hosts bantered about the weather and traffic, but their voices were just background noise to the roaring in my ears. My presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m., giving me a few hours to try to pull myself together. The office was half empty due to the snow, which meant fewer questions about my distracted state. I locked my office door and spread out my presentation materials, but the words and figures blurred before my eyes. 8 years of marriage, 10 years, together, in total. The mortgage, our joint account's vacation photos on my desk, her family's Christmas ornaments on our tree. Every memory now called into question. Had it all been a lie? When had she started seeing Jack? Who was he? The questions circled like vultures. I forced them away, temporarily focusing on the immediate priority. Clients were coming. My job required my attention. I would deal with my crumbling personal life after proving I could still function professionally. Somehow I made it through the presentation. My colleagues later told me I was brilliant, though I barely remembered what I said. Muscle memory and years of preparation carried me through. We secured the contract, and my boss clapped me on the shoulder, mentioning a possible bonus. The irony was painful. Professional success alongside personal devastation. During lunch, while others celebrated with sandwiches from the deli downstairs, I made my first strategic call. Amanda and I shared a mobile phone plan under my name. A quick conversation with customer service gave me access to detailed call logs for the past 6 months. The representative was sympathetic to my story about needing records for tax purposes. I downloaded everything to my laptop. Mike from accounting stopped by my office that afternoon. We were friendly but not close. He had gone through a divorce 2 years earlier. Without revealing my situation, I casually asked how he had handled the financial separation. Documentation is everything he advised, unaware of how desperately I needed this information. And do not move out of your house until you talk to a lawyer. Abandonment can be used against you. By 5 p.m. I had made a list of every unusual pattern in Amanda's behavior over the past few months. Late nights at work events, weekend seminars, new clothes and hairstyles, decreased physical intimacy. The signs had been there, but I had trusted her completely. I left work with congratulations from colleagues still ringing in my ears and drove home with a hollow feeling in my chest. During that drive, I called Thomas, a law school friend who had gone into family practice. I kept my explanation vague, but mentioned concerns about my marriage and financial protection. He agreed to meet me for lunch the following day. The phone records proved illuminating. One number appeared consistently over the past 4 months, with late-night calls and text message clusters. A quick reverse lookup identified it as belonging to Jack Pearson. A social media search revealed he worked at Amanda's firm as a financial advisor. His profile showed a single man in his 30s with an expensive car and carefully curated travel photos. In several recent pictures, I recognized the background as bars and restaurants near Amanda's office. The next morning I left for work earlier than usual, telling Amanda I had client meetings. Instead, I met with Thomas at a cafe 20 miles from my office, where we were unlikely to encounter anyone we knew. After explaining my situation and showing him the screenshot and phone records, his expression grew serious. "Benny, this is not just infidelity. The text about a heart attack could be interpreted as her hoping for your death. That has legal implications beyond a standard divorce." He outlined steps to protect myself. Secure important documents. Open an individual bank account. Document everything. Record conversations where legal. Most importantly, do not reveal what I knew until I had gathered enough evidence to ensure a favorable settlement. It may feel dishonest to hide what you know, Thomas said, but she has been dishonest for months. You need to protect yourself now. The next 2 weeks were the most challenging of my life. I pretended everything was normal at home while systematically investigating my wife's betrayal. I set up small cameras in our living room and kitchen legal in our state, as it was my residence. I collected financial records showing unusual spending patterns, including hotel charges on days Amanda claimed to be working late. My body began rebelling against the stress. Sleep became impossible without medication. I lost 15 pounds. Colleagues commented on my appearance, which I attributed to a new workout regimen. The truth was, I could barely eat. The hardest moment came during Sunday dinner with Amanda's parents. They had always treated me like a son, and her father had helped us with the down payment for our house. Sitting across from them, passing dishes of food I could not taste, I nearly broke down. They did not deserve the pain that was coming either. After they left, I went to the garage and sat in my car, finally allowing myself 10 minutes of unrestrained grief. Then I called Dave, my best friend since high school. "I need to talk," was all I said. Dave lived an hour away but arrived at a neutral meeting spot within 45 minutes. I told him everything in the parking lot of an all-night diner, my words fogging in the cold air. His reaction shifted from shock to rage to strategic planning. As a bank manager, he provided practical financial advice that complemented Thomas's legal counsel. More importantly, he reminded me that I was not alone. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. A place to stay, someone to talk to, help moving stuff. I am here. That promise became my lifeline in the days ahead. 3 weeks after discovering the text messages, I found the final pieces of evidence I needed. Our credit card statement showed a charge from a jeweler I had never visited. A call to the store confirmed a gold bracelet had been purchased. Amanda had never shown me any new jewelry. More disturbingly, I discovered she had contacted our insurance agent about increasing my life insurance policy just 2 months earlier. The agent had emailed both of us, but Amanda had responded from her work email, which forwarded to her personal account that I now monitored. She had claimed we both wanted to increase coverage, just to be safe. The policy now stood at $1 million with her, as the sole beneficiary. The hotel receipts were the most painful. 3 different locations over the past 2 months. Always on evenings she claimed to be at work events. One was less than 5 miles from our home. The thought of them together so close to the house we had built made me physically ill. The breaking point came unexpectedly on a Thursday evening. I arrived home early from work to find Amanda on the phone in our bedroom. The door was partially open, and her voice carried clearly. "He has been acting weird lately. Do you think he suspects something?" A pause as she listened. "No, there is no way he saw those messages. He would have exploded by now. He has always been too emotional. That is why this has been so easy." Another pause. "The lawyer says everything is straightforward. Once the papers are filed, I will ask him to move out. With the house in both our names, I can buy him out with money from the first transfer." I stood frozen in the hallway, a strange calm settling over me. The final confirmation pushed me past anger into clarity. That evening, I contacted Thomas and told him I was ready to proceed. We scheduled the confrontation for Saturday, when I would have the full weekend to deal with the aftermath. That Friday, I collected all the evidence into organized files, financial records, phone logs, screenshots of messages from her email to Jack that I had recovered, photos of them entering a hotel from a private investigator Thomas had recommended, the life insurance increase, everything that proved not just infidelity, but calculation. Saturday morning dawned bright and cold. Amanda suggested brunch at her favorite cafe, but I asked her to stay home, saying we needed to talk. Her expression showed momentary concern before she composed herself, and agreed. We sat at the kitchen table, where we had shared thousands of meals. The recording device in my pocket was activated legal in our single-party consent state. I had rehearsed my opening with Thomas, keeping it simple and direct. "I know about you and Jack," I said quietly. Amanda's face registered confusion, then indignation. What are you talking about? I placed the hotel receipts on the table. I know about the Marriott on January 12th, the Hilton on February 3rd, the boutique hotel downtown on February 28th. You have been spying on me. Her voice rose, shifting to offense rather than defense. I know about the text messages hoping I would have a heart attack while shoveling snow. That stopped her cold. Her face paled as the implications hit her. Not just caught cheating, but caught discussing her husband's potential death. That was not serious, she stammered. It was a joke, a stupid comment. Jack and we just sometimes say silly things, like discussing how you will not need a divorce if I die. I kept my voice steady. Or increasing my life insurance. Without telling me I can explain that she insisted, but her confidence was crumbling. The insurance was for both our protection, and the texts were taken out of context. What context makes hoping for your spouse's death acceptable? She began to cry, but the tears seemed calculated rather than genuine. I have been unhappy for a long time, Benny. I was going to talk to you about separation. Jack is just a friend who has been supporting me through this difficult time. I slid the hotel photographs across the table. This is not what friends do. Her strategy shifted instantly. Fine. Yes, I have been seeing Jack, but you have not been emotionally available for months. You work constantly. You barely notice me. What was I supposed to do? Communicate. Suggest counseling. Ask for a divorce. Any of those would have been better than hoping I would die in our driveway. The doorbell interrupted our conversation. Amanda looked startled, clearly not expecting anyone. I stood to answer it already, knowing who would be there. Jack Pearson was younger than his social media photos suggested, with carefully styled hair and an expensive leather jacket despite the cold weather. His confident smile faltered when he saw me. You must be Jack, I said calmly. Please come in. We were just discussing your relationship with my wife. His eyes darted to Amanda, who looked horrified. This was not part of their plan. I can come back later, he stammered. No, this concerns you too, especially the parts about my convenient heart attack and life insurance policy. I invited him to sit at the table with us, maintaining a control that surprised even me. The conversation that followed revealed more than Amanda wanted Jack to know, such as how she had told him our house was mostly paid off when we actually had a substantial mortgage, how she had claimed to have personal wealth tied up in investments when our savings were modest, how she had suggested I had a heart condition that would make a snow shoveling incident seem natural. You said he had a congenital heart defect, Jack blurted out, looking increasingly uncomfortable. You said the insurance was just taking advantage of a situation that was likely to happen anyway. Amanda's face twisted with fury. Shut up, Jack. He is manipulating you. But Jack, seeing his fantasy collapsing and possible legal implications emerging, continued his retreat. I never knew about any plan. We just talked about being together eventually. The rest was all her. I turned to Amanda, whose tears had dried in her rage. Were you hoping Jack would help you spend my life insurance? Money. $1 million would buy a lot of hotel rooms. You have ruined everything, she hissed, dropping all pretense. We could have just divorced like normal people, but you had to play detective. Normal people do not wish death on their spouses, I replied. Normal people do not increase life insurance policies secretly. Jack stood abruptly. I am not part of this. Whatever she told you about plans or money, I never agreed to anything illegal. As he headed for the door, I called after him. The police might have some questions about conspiracy. I would suggest you get a lawyer. He blanched and hurried out, leaving Amanda alone with the wreckage of her schemes. What happens now? She asked, her voice small. Now I file for divorce on grounds of adultery and potential criminal conspiracy. You will be hearing from my lawyer on Monday. I suggest you find your own. Where are you going? She asked as I stood and picked up the pre-packed bag I had hidden in the hall closet. To stay with a friend. I would recommend you do not contact me except through legal channels. As I walked out the door of what had once been our dream home, a strange feeling of liberation mixed with my grief. The life I had planned was over, but perhaps that was not entirely a tragedy. The weeks that followed were difficult but clarifying. I temporarily moved into Dave's spare bedroom surrounded by his kids' sports equipment and abandoned hobby projects. His family enveloped me in normalcy and warmth when I needed it most. Thomas moved quickly with the divorce proceedings. The evidence was overwhelming, and Amanda's initial threats of fighting for half of everything quickly subsided when her texts about my potential heart attack were submitted to the court. Her lawyer advised her that pursuing an aggressive strategy could backfire spectacularly. Amanda made several attempts to reconcile, or at least to manipulate the situation. She sent tearful messages about our history together. She tried to enlist her parents to speak to me, though they became distant when they learned the full story. She even showed up at my office once, creating a scene that required security intervention. None of it worked. The clarity that had come with discovering her true nature remained. I was sad for what we had lost, but increasingly certain that I had escaped a dangerous situation. The divorce settlement was finalized in 4 months, near record time for our state. I kept my retirement accounts and investments. We sold the house and split the proceeds, which gave me enough for a down payment on a modest condo closer to my office. My lawyer advised that I was entitled to more given the circumstances, but I wanted a clean break more than I wanted financial victory. Amanda faced consequences beyond our divorce. When Jack completely abandoned her, worried about his own legal exposure, she became erratic at work. Eventually, rumors of her affair and its unsavory details spread through her firm. She resigned before she could be terminated. The life insurance company investigated the policy increase after being notified of the divorce proceedings. They found evidence of misrepresentation and fraudulent intent, leading to a formal investigation that caused Amanda significant legal expenses. Throughout this period, my support system proved invaluable. Dave and his family provided immediate shelter and distraction. My parents, though living in Arizona, called daily and visited twice. Colleagues who learned pieces of the story covered for me on days when I could barely function. Even Mike from accounting, after learning what had happened, shared resources from his own divorce recovery. I began therapy, something I had never considered before. The sessions helped me process not just the betrayal, but my own blindness to the warning signs. I learned about setting better boundaries and recognizing manipulation. Most importantly, I began to understand that Amanda's actions reflected her character, not my worth. 6 months after moving out, I took a 2-week vacation to Colorado. Alone in the mountains, hiking trails that tested my physical limits, I found space to truly heal. The air was clean, the views expansive, and the distance from my old life clarifying. I returned stronger in body and spirit. Dating seemed impossible at first. The thought of trusting another person with my heart felt naive. But gradually, I allowed new connections to form. Coffee with a colleague from another department. Dinner with a friend of Dave's sister. Nothing serious, just small steps toward normalcy. 1 year after the snowy morning that changed everything, I stood in the driveway of my new condo with a shovel in hand. The forecast had predicted 6 inches overnight, just like that fateful day. As I cleared a path to my car, the physical exertion felt cleansing rather than triggering. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Amanda, the first in months. I miss what we had. I regret everything I said and did. Can we talk? I read it once, then deleted it without responding. There was nothing left to say. The snow continued to fall, but I was no longer out in the cold. Life has a strange way of revealing what we need to see, often when we least expect it. That morning of snow shoveling showed me a truth I needed to face, painful as it was. Without that moment, I might have continued in a marriage, with someone plotting my demise, blind to the danger sleeping beside me. Trust remains challenging, but I have learned to trust myself first. My instincts, my values, my worth. I have learned that it is better to be temporarily alone than permanently compromised, and I have learned that even the coldest revelation can lead to the warmest freedom. That was 1 year ago now. Life has settled into a new normal that feels increasingly right. My promotion came through last month, partly due to the client I secured on that snowy morning. Dave's kids now call me Uncle Benny and demand I attend their soccer games. My new condo feels like home, especially with the dog I adopted from the shelter. We go running together every morning. Amanda moved to another state after finding herself unwelcome in our professional community. Jack apparently transferred to his company's West Coast office. I heard through mutual friends that Amanda struggled financially after the divorce, the life she had envisioned with my insurance money, never materializing. Her recent text was not the first attempt to reconnect, but my silence has been consistent. The most surprising development has been my cautious return to dating. Sarah, a landscape architect I met through a community garden project, knows my full story and approaches our relationship with patience and transparency. We are taking things slowly, both having learned difficult lessons about rushing into commitment. This second winter in my new life feels cleaner somehow. When snow falls, I no longer see betrayal but possibility. The blank canvas of fresh snow mirrors the blank pages of my new beginning. What unexpected revelation has changed your life for the better? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Your support means everything as we all navigate life's unexpected snowstorms together. Remember, sometimes what initially feels like the coldest day of your life can actually be the beginning of your warmest chapter. Thank you for listening, and I wish you clarity in your own life's challenging moments.